The celestial axis. It is a very specific kind of alignment that only can occur when we are in our heart and mind coherence. The mind, the headspace, is allow us to actually measure, to gather data information in a very linear fashion. Whereas your heart space, when you allow your awareness to drop in it, gives you quality, give you a sense of wholeness, and allow you to make decisions considering the whole. And when the heart and mind coherence occur, the possibility of you blending with any intelligence and any life form in the entire universe exists. Our first exploration on our last videos was about connecting to Gaia. Gaia is the collection of all the ecosystems that compose our beautiful world. The fact that the flutter of a butterfly on one side of the planet can ultimately cause a hurricane to occur creates an interconnections. That one decision made in one side affects something else. And this interconnection creates a very powerful form of awareness, a complete intelligence that scientists are calling the Gaia principle. So when we are in our heart space, we can actually easily connect with that overwhelming governing presence that is stirring and balancing our planet. Today we're going to be talking about the sun. Our sun, to give a sense of a point of reference, is 1,000,000 times bigger than planet Earth. If the sun was a bag of marble, you would put 1,000,000 Earth in it to get to the size of the sun. The sun is also a gigantic hydrogen fusion reaction. It's mostly hydrogen. It's the lightest gas that exists, and it's all on fire. Now, hydrogen reaction creates plasma. It creates incredible amount of heat, and it creates plasma. Plasma cannot exist without some sort of magnetic field containing it. Most gases, when they exist, dissipate. But because of the magnetic core that exists at the center of the sun, it is allowing this hydrogen fusion reaction, cold fusion reaction, to actually be maintained into one place. And the other thing that plasma does, although we can talk about the fact that there are 3 states of matter, you have gas, liquid, and solid. Plasma may be thought of as a 3rd state. It's a gas that's on fire, but that has structured. It is the magnetic field creates filaments that actually goes from the top of the pole of the sun to the bottom. Now, it's important for us to understand this because the sun's north to south pole reverse about every 11 years. We are scheduled for a reversal very shortly, although the forecast, we thought it was going to be at the end of this year, 2012. The forecast was revised now for next year around August, July of 2013. And when the pole begin to shift and reverse and begin to move, it causes the sun to eject what are called solar flares. Let me explain. Since the sun is actually a giant ball of gas that's on fire, there are no solid plates. The equator of the sun, as it rotates, moves faster than the pole. The pole lags behind several days. In the process of this rotation, what actually occurs is that the magnetic filaments begin to bend at the equator in the direction of the rotation. And this bend, as it occurs, if it becomes very severe, causes the filaments to actually eject from the sun. And when they rest where the bend actually occur, they interconnect. that piece that's ejected from the sun actually gets released. And when it's released, you have a solar flare. Now, if it happens that the Earth is in the path of it, it begins to release tremendous amount of radiation, from ultraviolet rays to plasma to X-rays to all kind of energy system that collide with the Earth's own magnetic field, which is the magnetosphere. When this collision occurs, our own magnetic field begins to deform. We had talked on the video about the the effect of the solar flare, that we are all being affected by this, meaning collectively that the Earth magnetic field is being deformed and our own magnetic pole, the Earth's own magnetic pole, is being reversed. It's being pushed out by these increased amount of bombardment coming from the sun. We also established that the sun is not trying to hurt us. The collective belief of 7 billion people on the planet believing in fear and holding an awareness of lack. If you think about it, marketing-wise, the way the entire economy of the world is being driven, it's driven by one thing: consumerism. Whatever it is that you have, when the next version comes out, you must have it. None of us can be happy now unless we have iPhone 5. Okay? There's nothing wrong with the last version, but we must have it. And this idea of lack, of not being fulfilled, is written as code in the planet's own magnetic filament. And this collision is actually destroying the fragment of our own planet and all these false beliefs, because ultimately this is not who we are. From the sun itself and from the galactic core, there exists now a frequency of truth, transparency, and authenticity. This is what this celestial axis alignment is trying to create. To resist this is inconceivable, because you're not going to win. The idea here is for us to welcome the transformation and see it as a positive one. When you're going to solar flare effect because of the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, having magnetite in it and beginning to be agitated by the solar storm, the plasmas that are being released, okay, in our own magnetic field, causing all of us to wake up, have sleep pattern disturbance, have headaches, giving us dark visions, sensation of something moving into our skin. All of these symptoms that I had talked about in the other videos. The point I'm trying to make is that instead of trying to fight this, be aware that the sun is actually helping you. You and I, everyone on the planet, 7 billion people, are jacked up, hooked up to the planet collective belief. We have agreed to this. Okay? Now, when the sun is destroying the collective belief of the planet, we consequently, our own false belief and false identities are also getting destroyed. So the way to proceed, if you're trying to be intelligent and trying to be proactive about this, is for you to realize that there is a way for the sun to actually help you. It so happened that the sun itself has an intelligence in it. In fact, there are multiple level of intelligence that actually exists there. Similar to the idea that there is a presence, there is a super intelligence that actually called the Gaia principle that actually holds the planet together. There is an intelligence in the sun that actually holds it together. The sun has something called a solar logos. A logos is a being that ensouled an entire planet or a solar system. When we have, to explain this in a manner that may be comprehensible, when we have completely mastered life and completely mastered everything about our experience on Earth, we get to a point of becoming what are often referred to as an ascended being. We completely get enlightened. We are completely in a state of self-realization. When you are at that point, when you no experience on earth can no longer challenge you, you can become and volunteer to be trained as an intelligence now that's going to learn how to ensoul a planet. And you can move beyond that point once you have done this as a logos and become now the soul that actually animates a solar system. And you can, by extension, go into the galactic core. This is where the intelligences that we talked about actually exist. This is how they started just like us, but over a long period of time, they've evolved. We have at the core of the sun a pair of beings called Helios and Vesta, and they are our solar logos. They are the two beings who have ensouled in our entire solar system. And they have the ability to actually, they are the one that are communicating and actually helping us. The interesting thing that I should note is that around January 2011, I was feeling my ascension process accelerating. And at that point, Lord Melchizedek, who is the logos for our entire universe, we're going to get to that in a future video. But he actually asked me, Pierre, instead of you just ascending by yourself, why don't you create an ascension wave? Take a whole bunch of people with you. Be the head of a plow and create a path. And the way he described it is that he said, I want you to create, I had channel limit live when I did the first meeting for the group I was trying to lead. He said, I want you to bore a tunnel toward the heavens. And all of you who are part of this wave will become the armature and the structure. He called us architects and engineers, that we are bridge building. And we're going to create this bridge toward the heaven. And at the planetary level, going into the solar, that there exists already a network of tunnels. And from the solar level to the galactic, and so on, these networks already exist. All we need to do as human beings is to actually create our part of the tunnel. At the time, that sounded great to me, but I did not understand it until about 2 months ago, when in fact I found a video that actually is stating exactly that physically there exists as the edge of our magnetosphere, the edge of the Earth's own magnetic field, actual magnetic tunnel that directly connect the sun on several hour basis to the Earth, where particle can actually fly through it. The tunnel he was talking about a year and a half earlier actually exists. I wanted to mention this because I want you to understand that the relationship between the sun and the planet is not some distant star that's bringing light by just radiating light. There is communication and to and fro that's happening all the time that we don't have the ability to perceive. NASA, who just discovered this, is sending a bunch of satellites by 2014 to actually study this phenomena because it's brand new. All right? I want also to make very clear that this understanding of this connection is something that actually is in our benefit. The celestial axis is a rectitude. It's multitasking to the most. In other words, you go into your heart space, you connect to the core of the planet. Then when you are in the core of the planet, you will allow yourself while simultaneously blend and connect with Helios and Vesta in what they are doing. Then you continue by extension into the galactic core. And as you keep going and multitasking, you then connect to the central sun, which is the core of our universe. And then you go outside of time and space into source. And at that point, if you're able to hold your awareness in all these places at the same time, by focusing it in your heart space, you are in complete and total rectitude. All the tunnels are aligned. You become an open gate through which energy can flow to and from. You allow light to descend into earth, and you allow the frequency of the earth to ascend. And that's the point of the celestial axis. Additionally, I should mention that there is something very beautiful that was shared to me by Helios, by Helios and Vesta. When all of us are experiencing the solar flare symptoms, we're not sleeping at night, we're waking up and feeling, I don't know what's wrong with me. This is the second or third night I'm not sleeping in a row. Or we're feeling that migraine headache in the middle of the head, or the sensation that something is moving around your body. Instead of trying to fight it, ride the wave. Be a surfer. Say, dude, surf is up. Just take your board and start. And what I mean by this is as follows. Drop into your heart space. Just allow yourself, and there you go. When you are in that space, you can perceive information all around you. And when you are in that state, call upon a galactic master called Viwemus. And he has a very specific gift for you. Ask him, and all of us have access to this, ask him to give you sight with the universal light. Okay? And when you're in your heart space and you ask him to do this, let this enhanced perception allow you to see in your body and around you, because when you're in your heart space, you feel energy all around you, and around you, all the false belief and identity that you're personally holding. And you will begin to literally sense, some of them are outside, some of them are in, you begin to feel pressure in a certain part of your body, pressure outside. And the moment you have this awareness of where all of these false beliefs are, then call upon Helios and Vesta and the sun and all the magnetic field and plasma that are being released by the solar flares, and ask them to dismantle these false beliefs. Go with the wave and let them do their work. Don't resist them. Allow the sun to do what it's doing, because ultimately it's in your benefit. The last thing that I want to mention, that is also a phenomenon scientists have just observed recently, and they are puzzled, they are scratching their head going, they don't understand how that's possible. The way we measure everything scientifically in terms of trying to age any material, if you find an archaeological evidence, because everything, all life on Earth is carbon-based. And carbon is typically carbon-12, meaning there are 6 proton, 6 neutron, 6 electron. And since the electron have no mass, it's the proton and the neutron that is measured. So carbon-12 is the basis of life. Everything on Earth has it. There are, however, what are called isotopes of carbon-14 that exist in nature, meaning there's kind of a mutation. And carbon-14 has a specific way of decaying, meaning it takes a certain period of time that never changes, always constant, that it decays from 14 to 12. Depending on the state that it's at, we can measure how much time has passed. Well, it so happened that every time the solar flares are active of recent time, carbon-12 decay is now accelerating. Scientists do not understand why. All we know is that something is being released from the sun that is actually mutating matter. We are being rewired, or DNA is, because carbon-14 and carbon-12 exist in our DNA. If it's happening to carbon-14, it must be happening to other physical things around us as well. We are being changed, we are being altered, we are being enhanced. So what I'm saying to you, allow the energy of the sun proactively to flow toward you. Co-create with it. Let this energy co-create with you. When you're waking up and you're feeling disturbed and you feel all of the symptoms, the headache, and do what I just mentioned and allow this flow to take you to an ascended and higher level of awareness. Thank you.
Roar!